You're listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast with Debbie Sasson, episode 130. If you want to make six or multiple six figures this year in 2024, then my group coaching program, Wired for Wealth, is just for you. Wired for Wealth is my lifetime access coaching program designed for coaches, creatives, and service providers who want to create consistent $5K, $10K, and $15,000 income months with a small audience. Wired for Wealth is the only group program that includes live weekly group coaching calls, business strategy, an income-based curriculum, copywriting, editing, and feedback, money mindset, and so much more to walk you into a six and multi-six-figure business that will take care of your family. We will support you through all of the challenges, difficult decisions, and growth that comes with growing a six-figure business in this industry. I have walked several clients into their first $50K, $100K, $200K, and $500,000 years using our Wired for Wealth method. And I will be sharing all of the details inside of my free masterclass, 5 Pricing Myths You Need to Bust to Make More Money and Keep It, happening on June 6th. You can go to my website, debbiesasson.com/wealth to get all of the details. The investment to join this lifetime group coaching program where you get unlimited live weekly coaching for life is $555 for 12 months or $6,000 pay in full. VAT applies for residents of Israel. I will see you inside of Wired for Wealth on June 6th. Welcome to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Sasson. I went from being a financial advisor, author, and chronic under-earner to building my business to six figures as a financial planner and money mindset coach, and then onto multiple six figures as a full-time money and business coach. I help entrepreneurs create money-making businesses and build wealth using sales and money mindset strategies and in alignment with authentic Jewish values. Now, let's dive in to today's show. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I have to say that batching my podcast content is really a lot of fun. You may have heard some of the podcast episodes that I recorded earlier this year when I said I'm going to learn how to batch my content, because usually I record a podcast every single week. But as I mentioned last week on the podcast, I will be traveling to the United States. And as this episode drops on the airwaves, I'm actually in the United States. And it's just so fun to know right now as I'm recording this ahead of time that I'm not going to be recording my podcast and I get a break. I mean, I love speaking to you guys. I love teaching you. I love being there for you on my podcast. And I really do understand the power of doing things in one batch because your brain is thinking about the same type of activity in your business over and over again. You're not hopscotching between recording a podcast, doing some administration, coaching a client, doing all the things. So it's a really powerful tool, and I'm not a great batcher. It is definitely something that I am working on. Don't know how well I'm working on it, but I have to remember that this one's working. Anyway, so today we have a podcast episode that was recorded a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to be talking about selling because you know me, I love talking about selling, helping entrepreneurs raise their prices and feel so good about raising their prices and the value that their clients are going to receive and the impact that it's going to have in their lives and their businesses when you work with your clients. That's huge. And if you want to get better at sales conversations, the number one thing you have to do, actually I have a lot of number one things that I want you to do, but one activity that's really going to turbocharge your success rate for your sales conversations, always in service of your clients, is for you to evaluate and troubleshoot your sales calls. So that is exactly what we're going to be speaking about today. I do want to remind you that on June 6th, I am running a webinar on 5 pricing myths you want to bust. So make sure you go to my website, debbiesasson.com/webinar and sign up for that webinar masterclass, all the same. And join me because so many people are so scared to raise their prices. And it's really time that you get paid Not what you're worth, because you're worth infinity. There is just no number we could put on your worth, but you get paid an amount of money that reflects the value that your clients receive and the impact your work together with your client makes in their lives. So go and sign up for that masterclass, debbiesasson.com/webinar. I'm also going to let you know to just be on the lookout for July, because my new private podcast on sales, where we're going to talk about topics like this, but in, more depth, will be available sometime in July. All right, so let's talk about sales calls, sales conversations, consults, discovery calls, clarity calls, all the things, and how you can troubleshoot yours. Because I just want you to think about why that matters so much. Think about your time, the time you have in your week. You have your business, you have your family, you have your partner, you have the community that you're serving, you have hobbies, right? If you like to go hiking like I do, or you enjoy painting, dancing. I used to do Israeli dancing. I haven't done that in a long time. Since my baby, he's almost 17 years old. I haven't gone to an Israeli dance class in a long time. Maybe it's time for me to revisit that, because I really enjoyed it. From when I was a kid, from when I was like preteen, I always enjoyed Israeli dancing. So you want to make sure that you have time in your life for the things that you enjoy doing besides business, even if you love business like I do. So just think about it. If you get 10 people onto a discovery call or a sales call and you end up closing one sale, and let's keep the math simple, it keeps my brain happy. If you spend 10 hours, each call is an hour, and you close one sale, you've spent 10 hours of your life, and whatever the return is on your investment, let's say that your clients pay you $5,000. So 10 hours invested, and then you get $5,000 because you closed that one sale, and then you're going to work with the client, and that client is obviously going to get the results that you're promising your clients. Or just think about it. Imagine you got 1 or 2 people on sales calls, and you were able to close 50% of your sales calls, 60, 70, 80. I want my clients to close their sales calls at an 80% success rate. Just think about spending 10 hours on the phone or on Zoom, and at the end of that, 8 times $5,000 is $40,000. That's huge for you. And of course, it's huge for your clients as well, because now you're serving so many more people and they're getting their lives and their businesses and their relationships transformed. And that's beautiful. You get to serve more people that way. But you also have more time to do all of those amazing, fun hobbies you want to be able to enjoy and do in your life. So it makes a lot of sense that you should tweak things and perfect them so that you can get better and you can serve people at a higher level going forward. Are you with me? So just think about that. You want to be able to close more people coming through your door in less time, so you have more time for your family. So the number one thing you want to do is master your troubleshooting so that you can master your sales calls. Let's first start out by helping you understand what the purpose of your sales conversations is. The purpose is not to get clients. It is not to close sales. It is not to make money. What? I know that's a little bit of a mind-blowing concept, because I just told you I want you closing your sales calls at an 80% close rate. But here's what happens. When you show up to your sales calls and you're thinking, I need to get this client. I haven't signed a client in a long time. Oh, I really, really want to help this person. Do you hear my voice? I'm greedy. I'm needy. I'm graspy. I'm making it all about me. When I'm in that energy, last week on the podcast, we talked about being in abundance on your sales calls versus being in scarcity on your sales calls. Right? When you are in abundance, you have enough right now. You have everything you need. There are lots of clients in the world, 8 billion people. Even if half of them in the world, only 4 billion speak English, I don't have time in my day to work with 4 billion people. That's all women, right? I don't have time in my day to work with everybody who speaks English. Maybe that's 1 billion people. Even if my group program just goes gangbusters, I really don't think I could support 1 billion people. It's not even a target on my radar screen. Like, let me get to 1,000 people in my group program and evaluate then. But just believe, we talked about this last week, that God has a plan for you. He's doing everything for the good for you. There are enough clients. Don't be in scarcity about getting clients. The purpose of your sales calls is to help your potential client get clarity on what they need and move forward. Let's say, for example, you are a doctor and somebody comes to you, they think that they have a heart problem. Then all of a sudden you listen to them and everything that's going on and you're like, no, actually it's not a heart problem, it's a lung problem. I don't know if that's actually something that can happen. I'm not a doctor, I don't know. I will tell you that when my husband was diagnosed with cancer, nearly 22 years ago now, thank God he's healthy, remission, everything, thank the good Lord, right? He actually thought it was a problem in his back because he was having pains in his back. It turned out that he had a growth in his abdomen. And so, sometimes there are pains that can seem close to each other and it's not what you think it is. So maybe your potential client has a problem that seems to be what you offer, but it isn't. And you want to help your client find out what the real issue is and what the real reason is. Now, I do believe that most of our people that show up on the sales calls, they've done their research. Many of them have gotten a reference or a referral. So they actually are the right fit clients for you. But again, you don't want to show up saying, I have to sign this client. There are more clients. Just imagine that it is the day after Christmas, December 26th. And those after Christmas sales and the lines are out the door. People are waiting to bust through the doors, be the first one to get everything on sale. I want you to imagine that it is just like that for you and your clients. There is a line out the door, or maybe people want to get tickets to a concert or something like that. And only the first people are going to get the tickets. There might be a limited amount. Just imagine that people are waiting outside for the doors to open so that they can get to you. There are more clients in the world. Don't be in scarcity. So when you show up on the call, you are going to have in your mind that you're going to help this person get clarity on what they really need. Now, oftentimes, clients don't know what they need. They think they know, but they don't understand that there are layers upon layers upon layers, and they're often looking only at the outside layer. But when you prepare for your call ahead of time, we're going to talk about that in a minute. When you prepare ahead of time, you know how to take your client deeper and ask open-ended, probing questions that will get to the root of the problem, why they really want to address this issue, and what's the impact going to make in their life or their business once they have worked with you. So make sure that you show up to your call understanding what the purpose is. That's point number 2. Point number 3, and I really think that this is the second most important point after your evaluation. Of course, everybody has to have the first sales calls. It is not a chicken and egg problem. You have to have a sales call before you can ever evaluate a sales call. The number 2 thing you want to do is spend time before your sales call preparing for your sales call. Number 1, so you remember that you are not here to get the client, but also we come with that graspiness and neediness that I mentioned. We need money. It's a very normal human need to need money. We can talk about how much you need, how much you want, how much money you desire, how much money you need for your future self to pay for your retirement, to pay for the weddings of your children, please God. We can talk about how much money it's going to require to get you to 120 years, please God. But you don't want to be in that place of neediness, like needing this client and needing this money. You want to be unattached from the results of this call. And that way you can actually be truthful with your client. You can help them get the clarity that they need because you don't need anything from them. You're showing up just like it says in the Torah, "V'ahavta l'recha kamocha," love your neighbor as yourself. You're here to love on the person on the end of the line. You're going to help them get clarity, help them find what the deeper issues are, help them understand how impactful it is going to be for them to work with you. But you can't do that when you need something from this call. You can't do that when you need money. You can't be clean, right? That's what I like to call clean selling. You can't have a clean mind, clean energy, abundant energy when you need validation as a business owner because you've been showing up on this call because you want the client to say yes so that you can feel like you're actually really in business. So what you must do, and I see a difference with me even since I've been in business for, 10 plus years, when I spend time, even 5 minutes, just bringing my energy down to abundance, to enoughness, knowing that God is always going to provide for me. And my goal is here to help the client understand what's getting in their way, what's stopping them from creating $5,000 consistent monthly income or $10,000 consistent monthly income, my energy on the call is very, very different. And yeah, sometimes I still make mistakes on the call. It happens. 80% close rate. Nobody's perfect. But when I show up in clean energy, it's much easier for me to help my clients figure out what it is that they really need. Also, I mentioned like 5 minutes preparation time. I really don't think, especially in the beginning, when you're not used to being in the place of clean energy, when you're not in a place where you're used to feeling abundant and enough and validated as a business owner, when you're on the sales call, it will take you more than 5 minutes to prepare for the call. Our brains are very bratty. Our brains have a lot of messy stuff going on in them. And so I think you need to spend 15, 20, even 30 minutes doing a thought download, journaling, like really pen to paper. Journal all the stuff that's in your mind. Let your mind find where it's feeling a little bit insufficient, like I'm not enough, I haven't had a client, I haven't signed anybody in 3 months. Let your brain tell you all of the really negative stuff that's going on there. We have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are negative. So you have that negative stuff going on as well. Let it go from your brain onto paper. So let's talk about when your person shows up on the sales call and how you're going to approach it. Because you've prepared ahead of time, you evaluated the previous call ahead of time so you know where the tweaks are that you want to make. You've already troubleshooted your sales process. I want you to understand when somebody is giving you their time, and I really recommend that you give them half an hour, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, like they're making an investment of their time and energy. You make an investment of your time and energy as well. Show up to the sales call believing that they want to work with you. They're giving you their time. People these days are all talking about how they're so busy. If they're giving you their time, it's because they want results. They didn't just show up because they had an extra 60 minutes in their pocket. So make sure that you're giving them the time and preparing ahead of time and believing, I know we're unattached from the results of the call, but believing that they really do want results. And if it's a good fit, you really are the person that they're going to hire and they're going to work with you. I also want you to realize that when people show up in the call with you, and they've already been through 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of the day by the time they get to you, especially if you're running sales calls at night. And some people are working full-time jobs. Some of my clients, they're working jobs and they're building their side hustles, or maybe they just have to work at night because they're with their kids all day. And that's great. When people come to the call, they've already been through many decisions. Even if it's just the morning and they're getting their kids out to school, they have to get dressed. They have to help their kids get dressed. They're making sandwiches. There's noise. There's fighting. There's just stuff going on. And our willpower disappears by about 11 o'clock in the morning. We have decision fatigue. Certainly, if you want to make a decision, make it in the morning, make it when you're fresh. So think about what time of the day your clients are showing up on the call. If they've made a lot of decisions through the day, it might be more fatiguing for them to make a decision on the sales call. So among the other things that I recommend that you do is tell people when you get on your sales call that you're going to ask them to make a decision today. In principle, they can go back and speak about it with their spouse. If they need to get money out of a savings account or something like that, that's also fine. But they might already be in a place where they're just fatigued from making all the decisions. So on the one hand, it's great if you can help them not have more fatigue and they can actually say yes and commit on the call and pay you on the call. But also just let them know that you're going to do that. You're going to ask them to make a decision in principle so that they're aware of it. So they don't just add it to the long list of things that they're going to think about tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Help them to do something that's in their best interest, whether it's to work with you or whether it's to go find somebody because you're not the right service provider or practitioner for them. Help them to make a decision that's in their best interest. That's number one. Number two, another way you want to prepare for your call in terms of thinking about your clients, your ideal clients, is know what they want when they're on the call. Number one is clarity about their issues. Number two, they want to be heard. Again, they've given you 45, 60 minutes of their time. They're not just showing up to drink coffee and shoot the breeze. This isn't a virtual coffee chat. This isn't a get to know you session. This is, hey, you have something that's going on and I want to help you. Just think about going to the doctor. You don't go to the doctor to drink coffee. If you like your doctor and you're friendly with your doctor, that's great, but you're not doing it during doctor's hours. You would go to the doctor because we want a diagnosis. The person who's coming to your sales call wants that diagnosis and they want a treatment plan, just like when you go to the doctor. So you're a potential client, they want to be heard. They don't want to be judged, right? Just think about going to the doctor and you have an irregular heartbeat and your doctor is starting to judge you because your heart isn't beating well, or you have like a full body rash. Might have been an allergic outbreak or something like that. And you could even have some bloating. You might be retaining water, just you're having a reaction. Like you don't want to go to the doctor and have your doctor judge you because you're not looking healthy. Your clients don't want to be judged either. That's again why you need to clean your mind. So you're not in a place where you're judging your clients. A lot of time the judgment comes towards the first quarter of the sales call or halfway through the sales call, that you're in your mind judging your client and where they are and what they're saying. You have to be very good and very on to yourself while you're having this call, not to be in a judgmental place. Because if you're judging your client, they're going to sense that energetically and they're not going to feel safe on the call. They're not going to feel safe to say yes to working with you. So similarly, your clients don't want to feel guilty. They don't want to be shamed. They definitely don't want to feel like your cash machine. If you're needy, they're going to sense that like they just are like graspy, greedy. They can feel that through the airwaves, through the vibes that you're giving off. So they definitely don't want to feel like they're here to pay your electricity bill or to pay your mortgage. Your clients want to feel like you know how to solve their problems. They want confidence in you. They want simplicity. Do not give them all of the I's dotted, T's crossed about what you do. Again, let's use that doctor example. If you go to the doctor and they say that you need to have surgery, you don't really need to know how they do surgery. I know some of my clients are like, but my potential clients are going to ask me how I do what I do. 99% of them are not going to ask you to do what you do. Just think about this podcast. Do you have any idea how my voice gets into your ears? I know that it has something to do with sound waves. That's about it. I know I record it. I know I take the recording and I upload it to Dropbox. And I know that my podcast production company does all the rest. Thank you, Digital Freedom Productions. I know you're listening in. But I don't know if any of us understand the science, the physics, the sound waves behind how it gets from my mouth. Even think about that. How does sound come out? Then we're getting really into like biology and stuff. We're not going there today because I'm not a scientist. But we don't understand how so many things in the world work. Don't expect that your potential clients want all the details of how you do the work that you do. They want your leadership, they want your guidance, and they want your confidence that you can help them get the results that you want. Where so many people break down in their sales call process is that they go into all the fine details of the sales call and then they lose their potential clients. They don't want that. I promise you. I promise you they don't want to know how you do what you want to do. They just want to know that you can get the results without judging them, without shaming them, without making them feel guilty or like your cash machine. So make sure that your clients can feel safe. What I recommend, and maybe I should have started the podcast episode with that, is that you should, if you can, and if your potential clients let you, just don't hide this, you don't have to, is that today we're so blessed, have some sort of recording device in the background for your sales call. I have most of my sales calls on Zoom. Sometimes I use WhatsApp and then I'm a little bit handicapped, but I use Zoom. Zoom has Fathom AI. There's also Otter. There's also a Zoom AI. There are recording applications that you can use to record your sales calls, and then you can look at them again, and that helps you to troubleshoot. You can see where you got judgmental. You can see where you might have been a little bit pressurizing or manipulative of your potential clients. And again, I'm not shaming or guilting you. We all do this. We all mess up the sales process before we actually learn to close with a 80% close rate. So notice what you're doing. Notice how you are showing up on the call. Is it confident? And then here's something else that I want you to understand. When I said they want guidance and leadership, when people show up to the sales call, this is not the time to do like a research project on where they've come, what they've been doing. You do want to ask them, how they got to you, especially if it's someone that you've never seen their name before. And I've had that. I've had people sign up for sales calls and I have no idea how they found me. Could have been my podcast, could have been a referral, could have been through my website. Be willing to ask, and then you don't have to go into a very long, drawn-out process. This is marketing information for you, and it's a little bit of a way to break the ice. But just like you don't go into the doctor's office and start chatting about your day, and your friend's like, oh, you got recommended by, Sarah Smith? Great, thank you, good to know. Because the doctor's time is valuable, the patient's time is valuable, everybody's time is valuable. So make sure that you don't spend 20 minutes at the beginning of your call, or even 10 minutes, getting to know your person. Find out a couple bits of information, break the ice, and then go on. All right, now that you've done your introduction, you're not judging your client, you're really showing up in service for them. Here's the number 3. Are we up to 3 yet? I hope so. The number 3 point that I want to make, and that is you need to listen more and talk less. What often happens is we get onto these sales calls and we, the service provider, talk and talk and talk, because we're nervous. We haven't done our own pre-work to clear our minds, to feel abundant, to feel enough, to feel that God has our back. So we're nervous and we just over-talk. But do you know what happens when you talk too much? You end up disengaging from your potential client rather than creating a relationship where they feel safe, because they're like, wait a second, aren't I supposed to be the one who's showing up and getting my problem solved? Can you imagine going to a therapist and the therapist spends 40 minutes of your 50-minute session just talking? You would walk out of that session and be like, I really feel ripped off. I thought that I was coming to heal, not that the therapist was telling me about their lifetime problems. So don't talk so much. You should let your client talk for about 80% of the time, and you should talk for about 20% of the time. You should be asking good questions, deep questions that go deeper and deeper. Don't be satisfied with surface level. When your client is telling you what's going on, keep asking what else is going on. Why is that important? What will be different in your life? How is your business going to change? Make sure that you're being open-ended and curious when you get on the sales call. If you listen to the recordings of your calls and you're like, oh yeah, I get that. Yeah, I totally understand. After they said 5 words, just a very short sentence, you are not listening deeply enough. You have for sure not gotten into the deeper root cause of the problem. And a lot of people bandy about the term root cause these days. It doesn't have to be like a trauma root cause of your problems and all of your childhood issues, etc. But there is a reason under a reason, or a thought under a thought under a thought. Be willing to go and explore a little bit. Ask more questions. Don't take anything at surface value, because then you haven't gotten to the real thing your client wants to solve, and you haven't gotten into what the real impact your work together is going to have on their life, on their business, on their marriage, on their relationship with their kids, on their website, on anything to do with the work that you do. So make sure that you are going deeper and you are asking better questions. That's another thing you want to do when you troubleshoot. What kind of questions are you asking? Are you asking yes/no questions? You cannot go very deep with a yes/no questions. You can only go deep when you're asking a question and you're letting them share with you. One thing I want to highlight for you is when they are sharing, this is not your time to be like, oh yeah, I understand, and continue on from there. Or ask more questions from curiosity about what they do. I want you to imagine, for example, that the potential client who's coming to you is a film producer and they produce documentaries. They're telling you about the documentary that they're working on or that they want to work on soon. And you start asking them, what's the title? What's the topic? Who are the actors and actresses? That is not the purpose of this call. It's not for you to find out all of the information about their film documentary unless they're looking for a director or unless they're looking for actors and actresses. But let's say they're looking for a makeup artist for the film that they're producing. You don't need to know about the film in order to tell them how well you do makeup and why it's important and what genre of makeup, and you do that kind of makeup or you don't do that kind of makeup. So make sure that you're not just having like fun, because that just shows that you're not a leader. You're getting sidetracked by how interesting it is. You're just like finding out interesting facts for the sake of finding out interesting facts. But that is never the problem that you're here to solve, is to find out facts about your potential client. Have a coffee chat with them another time. When you are showing up on that sales call, you always have to appreciate that your client is in one place. We call that point A, and they want to get to point B. And when they get to point B, which is what your process that you work, the work that you do in the world, your process will get them from point A to point B. When they get to point B, there is going to be a very huge impact in their life, relationships, business, etc., health, as we've spoken about. That is where you want to put your focus and your energy. Like, why do they want to get to point B? What's going to be different? How will that change their lives? Like, when they get to point B, then what? What's that going to open up for them in the world? How is their life going to be different? How are they going to make more money in their business? Like, if you are a copywriter and you're writing the copy for their website, what's going to be different when you've written amazing conversion copy, compelling copy? You have words on the page that just draw in their ideal clients. Oh, then people are going to press on the buttons on their website. There's going to be engagement. They might press the buy button, depending on if it's an e-commerce website. They might press a schedule a sales call with me if they're a coach like I am, or another type of service provider. If you do yoga classes, whatever it is, if you are going to sell your copy, I can write the copy for you. Yes, I've done like this before, but you want to know what's going on. And your potential client might be telling you, yeah, people haven't been going to my website. I'm investing money in a new website. And when people come to my website, I want them to buy my products. I want to increase my sales by 10%. I want to double my sales. I want to double my revenue. That's what you want to know. And then you want to find out, like, oh, tell me what's going on in your business. Why do you need to double your revenue? Of course, everybody wants to double their revenue. Why not? Actually, doubling your revenue is beautiful, but if your expenses also go up and your income hasn't doubled, we need to talk about that. But you want to know how their business will be different, how their life will be different, how their health will be different, or their relationships when they have worked with you, so that you can get to the real crux of the issue, because that's where your impact is felt. When you get to the crux of the issue, and your people are going to get the results that they desire in your life. So if you're not getting there, that's what we call the root cause. I'm just changed it now to the crux of the issue. If you're not getting that deep on your sales calls, that's something you want to find out when you're troubleshooting. Because if you're not, now what you can do is you can write down a list of questions that you could have asked to get to the center point, to that crux of the issue, to the most important reason why they're on the sales call. And that's what you want to find out when you are evaluating and doing your troubleshooting for your sales calls. Now, the last thing I want to say, and that is overcoming objections. Sometimes people will say no. Sometimes people will say it's too much money. Sometimes people will say I have to ask my husband, or I have to ask my wife, or I need to check my finances, or I'll get back to you. Right? They're giving you an objection to something that happened on the sales call. So that's why, number one, you want to go and evaluate your process so that people will be able to work with you if that's what they really, really want and need. But also, when you understand why they're saying no or no for now, you can help them to figure out what the real reason is that they're saying no. Is it they're saying no because they really don't have the money? It's funny because people come onto the sales call knowing that it's a sales call, unless you're not letting them know ahead of time, and then you have to like adjust your process for people booking discovery calls. Sometimes people think that discovery calls are free strategy calls, but they're not. So if you're doing sales calls, call them sales calls. Or they might think clarity sessions are for them to get clarity, which we talked about in the beginning. It totally is. But it's to get clarity and see if it is worthwhile for them to work with you. It's not for you to help them get clarity and solve the problems on the call. is to get clarity and see how they can go forward to get the results they want in their life. So you really want to help them figure out, is the reason that they're saying no or not yet, or let's follow up in a month from now, is it because it's not clear to them what you do? Is it not clear to them what kind of transformation they're going to get? Is it unclear or fuzzy to them if you're a safe place for them to get the results that they want because they felt a little bit judged? Is your process, because you've talked too much, your process isn't clear? They don't know what tangible results they're going to walk away with. So you want to figure out, are they objecting because they really don't have the money? Again, 80% of the people want to work with you, but they have somehow felt unsafe on the call, so they'll say no. Or are they objecting for a real reason that they really would love to work with you and they really don't have the money? And I've had that. People know that it's expensive to work with me, and I'm fine with that, and they really don't have the money. So sometimes I'll give you, a little bit of free advice or whatever on the call. But mostly if you're getting on the call with me and you don't have money, then I know ahead of time. And sometimes I'll even cancel the calls, which you're allowed to do because my time is valuable. I show up a lot for my clients and for you guys. We got a lot of free information here on the podcast. And I don't want to be giving free strategy sessions. But you have to figure out what it is they're objecting to. Is it objecting to the price, and then they're in that 20% of the people that really can't afford to work with you? Or are they objecting because there's something else that happened? They didn't figure out how you could help them. You were judging them. You're talking too much, and so they're not feeling safe. That's why you want to figure it out. But if the objection is only because they're afraid of moving forward, you can make space for them to feel that fear, to feel scared, to feel unsure. And you can validate that for them. Yeah, it makes sense. Making changes in your life or making changes in your business is scary. Yeah, you don't know 100% if you're going to get the results that you want. I understand that. And what happens if you don't take this leap right now? Then what's going to be different? And you know what the truth is? If they don't take this leap and work with you right now, nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same story over and over and over again. And that costs them time and money and energy and their own feelings of self-worth, their own feelings of self-esteem. And nobody wants that. So you really want to work on troubleshooting your sales conversations so that if people are there to work with you, they're going to get the results that they desire, because everything they want is on the other side of their fear and their discomfort, and everything else is over there, the impact they're here to make in the world. So spend time, my friends. If you've had an hour sales conversation, give yourself an hour in your calendar after the sales call to troubleshoot and see where you let the ball drop so that the next person who gets on the call, you're going to serve them and you're going to serve them better. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast. It was a doozy, very full. You might want to go back again with a pen and paper and write it all down. And I will see you next week on the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. Bye-bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. If you want to stop underselling and under-earning and close more sales, you need to clear the limiting money beliefs that are sabotaging your business growth. Head on over to debbiesasson.com/mindset and download my free Money Mindset Workbook. Uncover and dissolve money blocks like hundreds of other entrepreneurs who are now building 6, multi-6, and 7-figure businesses and creating true financial freedom.